survived. Okay, let me get my Jupyter notebook. Can anybody summarize for me what we did yesterday? Anybody? Who were there yesterday? Saurav, you were there, na?
No,
For the
ma'am.
first few minutes you were there and then you logged out, huh?
Ma'am, I have some work, that's why I have to go there.
Hello.
Who were there? Hello?
Yeah, may I?
Yes, you were there yesterday. Were you there?
Not there, but I can explain.
Okay, you want to say something?
I can explain what are the things written on the Jupyter screen.
Okay, you can explain. Explain in your words. Let me listen.
Yeah. Actually, you have called here your 10_Titanic file using the pandas. So first you have imported the library import pandas, and you have given alias BD, and you have imported the file 10_Titanic, and you have stored in the data. And now you want to see that the file. So using head command, you can see the file. So it comes with the first 5 rows. So now you want to see the 15. So you have mentioned the 15 over here. And using tail, you can see the last 5 data of the database. So here you have mentioned 11. So you wanted to see the last 11. Now the next is shape. Using shape, you can see the how many rows and columns are there in the data sets. And data.columns, you can see the column names. And then you wanted to count the survived. So value underscore counts give you the survived, how many, what is the count of survived. Then this unique gives the how many unique values in that. And for the sex also, you find out how many unique, like male, female, like that. The similar way you check the unique values for sex, P class, mark, CSP, park. Then you wanted to check the data types, means what is the data types. In that you will get float, integer, and object. Then data.info will give you the information of the complete data sets.
The information means along with data type, you will get to see whether or not you have missing values in any of your columns, along with the column headings. Okay.
And you have used
data
it will give you the summary of the data sets.
Yeah, statistical summary.
Yeah, statistical summary. Then you have used the Seaborn for the plotting purpose, and you have imported the Seaborn, and you have given the name alias SNS as alias. Then
next,
for the same plotting, you have used the matplotlib also.
Okay, why should I import matplotlib if I have already imported Seaborn?
That I don't know the difference. That why.
Actually, Seaborn is built upon matplot. Okay, if you are using Seaborn, so you have to call matplot. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Dayanand. Good.
Thank
You have given a good summary. Okay, so last class we did all these along with few plots as well. Few count plots we had seen, like this one. The picture is clear, right? So your horizontal axis shows the male, female, and its proportion, how many survived, how many could not make it, right? If you give only X as the input to the count plot, you will get to see simply the counts of the categories in that variable. So same way, if you keep plotting against the survived variable, so you will get to see whether the X variables are affecting our target variable or not. Survived will be our target variable, right? Because our intention is to predict whether whether the certain passenger has survived or not. We have to make predictions upon that data. So that helps. So these are all count plots against survived for all the other variables. Last time we did for, I think, survived. So these are the rest. If you need to look at column headings, you can call this column here. Okay, this embarked remained. So from all these plots, you can make your own observations, right? You know? So this clearly shows, all these plots, if you will observe carefully, up to this embarked, if you remember, it tells you from which location either the ticket was bought or the passenger boarded, whatever it was. Somehow it also affects the survived variable. Looks like people from Southampton, most of them could not survive, right? Likewise, affect is seen. Similarly, for all the other variables, you can check. So all these variables seem to affect the survived variable. So maybe we will use it in the predictive modeling part. But before predictive modeling part, yesterday we have seen our data has some issue, right? Where is that? Before even proceeding forward for predictive modeling, you have to check whether your data is clean or not. So data cleaning is actually the process of finding or correcting the inaccurate or incorrect data in your data set. So we had already seen that the age and the cabin, right? Those variables do have missing values. The age variable and the cabin variable. Anyways, we do have this handy with us to straight away look at the missing values. You can use is null. So it sums up the total number of missing values in the variables of your data set. Now, one thing you can add here, this heat map, it provides you one beautiful visualization of this. Let us run this one. Let's see how it looks. This one. Heat map actually maps this information. Data dot is null. It will locate in this matrix the missing values in the form of a color contrast this way. So this age variable has these lines, right? It indicates that the age variable has missing values. The cabin as well. Cabin is worst affected with the null values. Majority of them are missing. Also, last class we discussed which all variables we can drop or which all variables are useless. Our intention is to look for the survival of a passenger. So passenger ID won't be playing any role here. Neither name nor ticket. And cabin, though it's many missing values, renders this variable useless. So we can drop these. For that, you have this drop method here. Use it, invoke it. And if you will run it again, you will see that those columns have been removed. Okay. Here x is equals 1 means it indicates that all these are columns. Meaning column wise, these have to be removed. Okay. So the columns have been removed and we are left with only these. The survived variable, which is our target variable, and all the other variables. So if you are calling survived to be the target variables, the all other variables are your feature variables. They are attributes. Or in other words, you can say survived is your dependent variable. And from P class to embarked are your independent variables, right? I hope you people don't have any confusion regarding dependent variables. So now, after EDA, exploratory data analysis, after having analyzed and summarized our data statistically, visually, now is the time to look for missing values. Specifically, you have to focus on data cleaning now. So as I told, data cleaning is the step you take to correct the incorrect values, mostly the null values or any missing values. You have to deal with it. So you must understand how to deal with those missing values, right? So there are few methods that data scientists follow, they use. So few options are that either you can fill up all the null values by zeros. Straightforward, right? Since all those are null values, you can easily replace them by 0. But what will happen is, there is every chance that the accuracy of your model will be badly affected. So different other methods have been suggested. So one of them could be, you can straight away delete the columns which are worst affected by the null values, like I did here for cabin. We dropped it because it has many null values. Majority of the values are missing here, so we can safely drop it. This is one way. Next step could be, or next option could be, you can delete the rows for which the values are missing. But you have to be careful. It should not happen that after deleting the rows, you are left with only 1 or 2 rows. So that could be second option. Third option is, you can fill in the missing values. You can fill in the missing values with some appropriate values. Okay, so those particular values can be either mean or median for numerical variables or mode for categorical variables. That way, okay? So right now, though, we have, I think, age, we are left with age now, which is numeric. So we can either choose mean or median to fill up the null values, okay? And one more thing, data cleaning part, there is one more part of it. which is mentioned here. See, we have these variables, right? We have found that these variables are somehow affecting the survived variables. So we haven't dropped them. And we are aiming to use them for predictive modeling. Now, what is the problem with those variables is like these P class variables. Survived is your target variable. We want to touch it now. These P class variables. It is either 1, 2, 3. We have already seen the Titanic had 3 classes, right? First class, second class, third class. So they have represented that by the digits 1, 2, and 3. The problem is that if you let it be 1, 2, 3, so it can affect the weightage. The issue with weightage can arise, meaning the algorithm can be biased towards those values for which the P class has the maximum value, right? So weighted bias may happen. So that is why this encoding of variables need to be done in such cases, which we will be doing here, okay? For all the categorical variables that we have, all these are categorical, right? So we will encode those data. So we are using this method, get dummies. We will introduce dummy variables and new corresponding columns. Let us see what happens when we apply this one. So we have named the new data set to be data Titanic, okay? Our original is this data. So for the sex variable, we have used the dummy method to replace those male and female thing. Anyways, your algorithm won't understand male, female, right? You have to somehow replace those male and female object with some numerical values, some meaningful numerical. That is what this get dummies are doing. Let's see what happens here. Let's call our data Titanic here. See what happens. Now we have left age as it is, right? It is not categorical. Right now we are dealing with the categorical variables. So look at the sex variable. What happened? Sex variable has only 2 unique values, right? It is either male or female. What this is actually called one hot encoding, okay? Instead of calling it dummy, one hot encoding. Now what it does is, instead of 0, 1, 2, and 3, it is using a pair of values in terms of zeros and ones to indicate it, okay? I hope you are getting, is it clear up to this? The same way it has done for this P class also. So for P class, we had 3 categories, right? Class 1, class 2, and class 3. First class, second class, middle class, and third class. So since you had 3 categories, so they have used these 3 bits. Likewise for the embarked also has 3 categories. No? It is SC and Q. It was SC and Q, I think. So same thing is done for all the others. So this is your one hot encoding. Now since there is uniformity in your data set. So in a sense, your data set has become uniform with regards to the. Now the second thing that is remaining is you have to deal with those missing values. We have already seen age has missing values. So what we will do is we will replace the missing values by the mean of that variable. Okay. So leaving the null values out, whatever the numeric values are remaining, you have to find the mean of those. It shows the mean is this. And you will just fill in the null values with this mean value. Okay. Anyways, this step was not necessary. It's just to look at what the mean value is. Now, to replace the null values with the mean values, you have this method, fill NA. So data Titanic is your data. Fill the null values with this method. With what? With the mean of age variable. Okay. So here the age variable is called. The mean is calculated. And the null values are getting filled using this. So if you now look at the count of null values, what will you get? Okay, is it still showing 177? मैंने run नहीं किया ना. I forgot to run this portion. Now, see, so all the missing values have been filled. Okay, this step is called imputing. Okay, it is called imputation. If you fill up the missing data with some meaningful value, you are imputing. Okay, so we are doing mean imputation here. So now your data is almost clean. There are no missing values. Similarly, data cleaning also includes checking for the outliers, if any. Now, this data set is actually free from outliers. So I haven't incorporated that section here. The third data set, we will look at the outliers. First one we dealt with iris. No? It was almost balanced with no missing values. Now next we are dealing with this having missing values. Third one we will take where we will deal with the outliers. So, okay, look at the heat map again. What do you expect? Since there are no null values, you won't get to see those horizontal lines along any of the variables. See, or it is filled. There are no null values. So heat map provides you a pleasant visualization of the null values. Okay. Now, since EDA part is over, we are done with data cleaning part as well. So now you can safely go for predictive modeling part. You can try to answer the question now. The question was to check for whether the given passenger has survived or not. For which data you will check? For the test data. Last class we have already seen that website provides you a pair of data, right? One is train and the other is test. So the train data you will use to train your model, and on the test data our model to look for the results, to look for how accurate your model is. So here we will call this sklearn library, okay? scikit-learn library. It is machine learning library that Python provides. We'll import the linear model material. From linear model, again, we will call this logistic regression algorithm. Okay, we will be using logistic regression here. Right now, though, you can simply understand that logistic regression is used for predictive modeling in cases where your target variable is categorical. Okay, Like in our case, our target variable is survived, right? And it is categorical. If somebody has survived, it denotes by 1. If not, it is 0. It is categorical and binary.
It's going to be